Sagittarius, the astrology of July is quite interesting for you. There may be some travel delays or just reassessing your values relative to philosophy, education, or even spirituality. This is all largely due to Venus going retrograde in the sign of Leo, which it will continue to be until September 3rd. So the next couple of months are really bringing these themes where you are kind of reconsidering or reevaluating your perspective of the world at large. However, there's also quite an interesting shift that may be bringing more fun, creativity, and even a bit of romance into your life.
Before we dive into this month's reading, I just want to thank all of you who support this channel and also reached out last month in support of my cat, Benny. He's actually doing a lot better, I'm very happy to say. So thank you so much for your prayers, words of encouragement, and your donations. I really appreciate all of it. My heart was just so touched during a really challenging time, so thank you so much. For those of you who are brand new to this channel, my name is Michael, and I utilize tarot and tropical astrology to intuit monthly forecasts for your zodiac sign. If you want to make sure that you're always up to date, definitely be sure to hit like, subscribe, and the bell notification so you never miss out on what's in the cards for you. I do also just want to give my friendly reminder that I will never DM you or reach out to you in the comments to solicit my services. Anyone who does that is just an imposter, they're fake, they're trying to scam you, so please report and ignore them. And if you do want to book a reading for me, you can find all of my links in the description of this video, including links for personal readings, distance Reiki sessions, and my social media accounts.
So while I was connecting with your energy, Sagittarius, and really looking at the astrology, I really had the sense that this group may have really had kind of a tougher cycle over the past few years. I know the past few years have been challenging for the vast majority of people, but I really think about how we had the South Node in your sign right at the beginning of 2020, and it felt like you kind of had to take the backstage. And that continued to happen as the South Node moved backwards into the sign of Scorpio, into your 12th house of spirituality. And, there was a lot of focus on routines. You were almost going through this like Cinderella syndrome, where it's like you were kind of just doing this work for other people and, just doing what you had to do. And now there is this focus with the North Node entering into Aries. That is happening on the 17th, the same day as the Cancer new moon, which we will talk about in a moment. I feel like there's a lot more fun, and there's a lot more excitement, and there's a lightness that you're starting to experience. I did pull some animal cards for you before we go into the tarot, and I got the swan and the crocodile. Both of these are very slow energies to me, especially from the images on the cards. We do have the swan that is reflecting, introspecting, but there's also like this mirroring that is happening. There may be another individual who feels like a mirror to your own circumstances, or there's like someone who you just have like kind of a synchronous parallel with. And the crocodile is also interesting because it's like kind of sticking out your head from beneath the surface, looking at what is above the water, or maybe becoming aware of things that are beneath the surface. There could be a lot of focus on home as well. I'm just kind of thinking that with Saturn in Pisces for you, there may be this kind of contrast, and it might feel like there's a lot going on at home and there's also a lot going on at work, or maybe online, or your dealings with the world. It's kind of like you're being torn between two different sets of responsibilities, particularly as we have Mars and Mercury going through Virgo. There's kind of this balancing act that you have to play, but I really feel like the way you're primarily dealing with this is by introspecting and reflecting, at least for the majority of July. I do feel like it's a good idea to kind of conserve your energy, and really just reflect on the things that are most important to you. So again, very reflective of a month, very kind of still month. I'm also just noticing that the swan and crocodile are facing each other, which is kind of interesting because it feels like there's this unlikely camaraderie between two people or between two parties. There might be unexpected connections that you are forming this month as well. Both of these cards are technically water elemental cards. You can see by the elemental symbol for water at the top. And so even though they occupy very different roles, they're both very territorial. They both like defend their homes or stay close to home. And yet there is this meeting and almost like this mutual respect. There's like this look of respect between two people. So that's very, very interesting. And you'll have to let me know in the comments down below who this person is that you are having this kind of unexpected connection or familiarity with, or just this recognition. Because it's like you're seeing a part of yourself in someone who outwardly might be very different from you. And honestly, it does feel like a family member, and it's like you're seeing a different side of somebody. It could also be a friend. Maybe it is even a romantic partner or romantic interest, but I do kind of get family vibes here, which is interesting. Anyways, what do we have for Sagittarius for the month of July? Show us clearly, please. Show us clearly. Okay, interesting. So the first card that I actually pulled was the Lovers, and it did show up in the reverse position. So from the past, there could have been a relationship that did not work out. Specifically looking at these lovers as geese, this traveling pair, this migrating pair. It almost feels like there was a situation with someone where you were just going in different directions. And you kind of had to move forward, and I feel like a lot of you have with the Six of Swords. With Venus going retrograde, maybe you are connecting with people, especially people who are living in different parts of the world as you. Again, Venus goes retrograde on the 17th, which is the same day that we have the new moon in Cancer. So there really could be this like reconnection with someone from the past, someone who is quite literally in a different place than you. Maybe that's what this interaction is with the swan and the crocodile. We do have Gemini energy here as well with the Lovers. But that could also just, really symbolize your counterpart because it is your opposite sign. Yeah, I feel like a lot of you have moved on from a relationship in the past, and that is coming up this month. It feels like your traditional ideas of relationships might be changing with the Hierophant, or your idea of traditions are changing. And again, this actually makes a lot of sense because Venus is going retrograde in your 9th house of philosophy, of religion, of your worldviews. And with the Hierophant in reverse, it's like these views, these traditions, these practices that you have might be turned up on their head. You might be really sorting through things for yourself this month. And maybe even looking at things in a non-conventional way or unconventional way, at least for you, whatever that looks like. And maybe there is something about relationships here as well, because the Hierophant sometimes represents marriage. So maybe there's something about your attitudes towards marriages or long-term relationships that could also be changing. And that might be why you are reflecting on this past relationship. We do also have the King of Swords. And this is showing up as a challenge, actually. I feel like a lot of you are getting out of your head, and you're also not letting your emotions color your perspective. It's like you're getting out of your own story. Because when I look at the King of Swords here, or in this case, the Father of Swords, it's someone who has a very objective perspective over things. And there's either something that you've been rationalizing, or there's been something that you just haven't been seeing very clearly because your emotions have been coloring it. It feels like you're getting kind of a reality check this month, or you are kind of checking yourself. It doesn't feel like a tower moment. We don't have the tower on the table here for you, Sagittarius. This feels more like you are recognizing and checking yourself and realizing, oh, I've made these assumptions about relationships or about the world or about my life. And you're seeing that, you're recognizing that, and maybe seeing things from a different perspective. I do feel like some of you are also quite guarded with your emotions. And you might be recognizing that. You've been guarding your heart, looking at this owl with the sword over its heart. You have been avoiding certain places that feel vulnerable to you. Especially if there was a relationship that really brought up a lot of emotions or really kind of changed things. And this is a really specific message that's not going to apply to all of you. But I almost feel like the vibe I'm getting here, especially if you're like maybe in your mid 30s or even in your 40s or even 50s, it's like you've gotten to a point where it's like you thought you would have been married by now, or you thought your relationships would look very different by now, and they haven't. And you're kind of realizing how you might have been closed off in certain ways to love or relationships. And maybe you actually had a very rigid view of relationships and how relationships need to look because it was a defensive wall. You almost had this like kind of unrealistic expectation, or just like things that didn't actually matter that you made like a requirement for a relationship. And you're now rethinking these requirements. What is it that makes a relationship work? And we do actually have the Page of Cups in the future here. And something that's just happening collectively during this time with the nodes shifting into new signs. We have the North Node entering into Aries, the South Node entering into Libra. There really is a refocusing on relationships, and it's kind of like getting out of old relationship patterns and really figuring out what is authentic to us. And that's just kind of across the board energy that the collective is going to be going through. And I think we are actually going to be seeing more conversations about different styles of relationships, whether that be polyamory, whether that be, long distance relationships, co-parenting relationships. I think over the next 2 years, there's going to be a lot of focus and conversation and exploration over these themes, and really just figuring out what works for people individually. And I feel like you are in this cycle, particularly because this is playing out in your 5th house of romance and creativity. You're kind of just accepting that you're a free spirit and that traditional relationships might not work for you, or at least the relationships you thought that were supposed to, the way you thought relationships were supposed to look might not actually be working for you. And by opening yourself up, it actually does feel like there is romance coming into your life. There could be offers. There could be maybe a deepening of a connection. If you are in a relationship, maybe you're letting go and just opening up to the possibilities of the different ways that your relationship looks right now. And that's bringing the love in. It's really lowering the guard and getting out of the head space and more into the heart space where you're actually communicating and connecting. So really, really beautiful energy here, if I do say so myself. I am curious what is going on. I mean, I was going to pull for love, but I feel like we've already gotten a lot of that. So I'm curious what's going on for you financially or in your career this month, because I do feel like there is a lot happening maybe at work, particularly with Mercury and Mars in the sign of Virgo this month. You could just be very active or very busy. And we do also have a full moon on the 3rd in Capricorn, which rules over your finances, your values. So something could be coming ahead here. What are the messages for Sagittarius regarding career or finances? I don't know why I keep dropping these cards here. Maybe someone's dropping the ball in your life. But we do have the Strength card. So that's actually a pretty good sign. I feel like when it comes to spending, Sagittarius, and I mean, again, like pretty general collective energy, a lot of people are just rethinking their spending habits and maybe saving money, being less impulsive with money, because the Strength card really represents composure. It represents not being totally swept up in the motions or being swept up in the tides. It's like being very intentional, very conscious of why you are doing what you are doing. And if it feels like there may be some overwhelm, I feel like there's actually a lot of encouragement for you that you are very strong, you are very capable. What else do we have for Sagittarius? We do have the Eight of Cups coming in. So you may be walking away from a situation financially or a job more specifically that just isn't working for you anymore. That could be something that is happening. And maybe you're also traveling for work, because I just get the sense of distance, but it's like you kind of need to distance yourself. You sort of need to walk away from things. And maybe that's because there is family stuff coming up. I feel like you're coming out of a situation where maybe there's been some financial struggle. Because when we look at this Eight of Cups, there's like this kind of broken situation, and you're climbing the mountain, you're climbing your way out of a situation. And with the Strength card coming right before this, I feel like this is a triumphant Eight of Cups. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's been challenging, but you are getting out of very stuck or stagnant energy this month, Sagittarius. And your finances, I do feel they are improving. I do feel there is something improving here. Definitely an ending with the Death card. But you have the Queen or Mother of Pentacles coming in here. Interesting that this is actually Capricorn energy, and I'm really thinking about the Capricorn full moon at the start of this month. Honestly, there could be an end of a source of income for you, and you are really thinking about the long term, and you're investing in different ways, or you're deriving stability in different ways. There could be new sources of income. And I feel like there's a plan here, or I feel like you're going to come up with a plan very quickly. Because the Queen of Pentacles has that long-term vision. She's the one who makes sure that everyone gets fed, that the work that needs to be done is getting done. I feel like you have a financial plan, and because of that, you are now finally able to end situations or circumstances in your life that just aren't really aligned for you. Or you're figuring out how to end those cycles that are just draining you, and how to afford to do so financially. Yeah, because it really has been challenging with the Five of Pentacles. And there may even be like a short-term calculated loss. But again, this feels very calculated to me. And like, even looking back to the Swan and the Crocodile, it's like, I think of the Strength card with both of these, because it's not like you're just charging at someone. You're not being reactive. You will defend yourself. You will take action when you need to. You're not passive. But you're also conserving. You're conserving your energy. You're conserving your resources. Because I do feel like there's a new venture for you, whether this is a new job or maybe a new field. Some of you are actually rethinking your education this month and maybe considering going to school or rethinking your future plans. That really makes a lot of sense with Venus going retrograde in your 9th house. There could also be stuff with student loans that is coming up for you. But I feel like you're figuring your way out of this, Sagittarius, or you're figuring your way forward. Because I feel like you have a plan. You have a plan for the future. And you might be learning new skills, or learning more about finance, or learning about, resolving debt. And that actually all makes sense being in Cancer season for the first part of this month, too. And actually, if you are taking out a loan or investing in some way, the Cancer new moon is a really good time to do that around the 17th. Because that does represent investments, it represents debt, it represents other people's money and other people's energy and that energetic exchange. But it's very calculated. You're investing in something. You're figuring out how you can move forward and change your life. Yeah, I really feel like a lot of you might be going back to school or learning new skills. Definitely let me know in the comments down below how that is resonating. I actually think that is everything for this month, Sagittarius. This is a really interesting month. I feel like there's a lot of perspective shift, and it feels like you're very in control of things, or at least in control of yourself. And it feels very empowered. Even though the energy isn't necessarily just sunshine and roses, you're not defeated in this. You're getting a handle on things, and that feels very, very good to me. So I hope that this was helpful. You can find all of my links in the description of this video for personal readings and distance Reiki sessions. You're also free to watch the other videos, maybe for your moon or rising sign, or maybe even Venus sign, because we do have Venus retrograde, so that is going to be an important planet over the next couple of months. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care, Sagittarius. Have a happy and blessed July.